Hi, this is Jack Brown from the Electric Auto Association Board of Directors. We're going to go ahead and start the meeting now. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat of the YouTube, and we'll be sure to address them during that. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and change over to the front screen and start the meeting in a few minutes.
Okay, my old Galaxy has just died on me. Somebody has hung me up and puts it, this will ring for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm restarting the whole machine. It's an 800 number. I don't know who it is, so solicitor. Stop sharing. Oh, I am sharing, so we are good to go, I think. But hang on a second. We are live? Okay. Kingston. Okay, 10 a.m. Rename. Eight.
Old guys are gonna have trouble. It's better than it was.
Okay. This is version 7, file, close, file, open, browse. Okay, the opening slide on the treasurer's report, Kent, is my concoction. You may want to just skip over it because it's not necessarily the right numbers. Just go to the next. You did? I did. Thank you. Good. Okay, we're ready to go. And who just texted me? Okay. Okay, I turn down the volume here. Minimal interruptions. Okay, if I can get everybody to sit down and get ready, we are about to launch live. Welcome to the 2018 EAA General Members Meeting. Cheers. What's that?
Can you have the live ground all? We don't have a blast.
Back. Audio.
If y'all want to move your chairs forward, I mean, that's no big deal. You don't have to be sitting down like that.
Do we move the table forward?
We can.
We can move everything else forward.
We move everything back there up here,
Not the other way around.
but not the other way around. The umbilicals are not long enough. So sit where you want to. Come on up.
We got work here.
Come on down. There's just not enough of us to be in a formal auditorium setting here.
Speech up.
This isn't big enough to see otherwise.
Testing 1, 2, 3. That's better.
There you go.
You have power up here from you.
Down there is one. Yeah, you want to plug in an adapter? I've got a power cord for you right here. What? You want it?
That's right there. You won't be able to get power.
Okay.
Get over there.
Okay, everybody. Everybody knows me, I think. I don't know everybody out there. I'm Ron Freund once again. And welcome to our meeting here. I think we're going to be live. Is that right, Jack?
Yeah, we're on where they are.
Good, thank you. All right, I got about 30 slides or so to rip through. Some of them are pretty simple. And let's see if we can get the user interface down here. Okay, this is the agenda for the day here. Just run through a bunch of slides, year in review. It's really interesting what's happened. We'll have a treasurer's report from Gint, who's here in-house. Then Will Beckett will give us a membership snapshot and talk a little bit about revenue sharing, since that's an ongoing question. Always have questions about revenue sharing, and we want to drum this in. We basically have repeated the slides from last year so that people understand what revenue sharing is about. And so there's no surprises. Unfortunately, we do not have revenue sharing planned as it looks right now. Things aren't looking so healthy. Okay, and then I'm just going to have a brief slide on charging ahead. I may have Guy Hall, who's on our board, he's our secretary, come up and talk a little bit about what those plans are. Then we'll go for just general questions. Take the questions from the internet. We're on Google Hangouts, so people can pose their questions there. I think that's right. And let's go from there. Okay. And let's hold questions until the end. We've got a Q&A session. Okay.
Ron?
Yep.
Try and present your notes.
I am?
Yeah.
Where are presenter notes?
He needs help.
Really? This is a new display for me. Where are my presenter notes? It says no notes. Down here. See all slides. Let's put some on the side. Yeah. And slideshow display settings.
Display slideshow.
There we go.
Oh, cool. All right. So I'll do that in a while. Thanks. Okay, let's go through a year in review real quick. First off, a lot of things have happened in 2017. Let's see if I can get to my fun slide here. Found this on the internet. Is this working? There we go. Okay, no money involved here, but what's wrong with this picture? I hope everybody can see this. There is no 2018 Tesla Roadster. There are the 2008s, 2009s, and a couple 2010s, and then there's a 2020, but nothing else after that. By 2010, they were sold out. So fun anyway, if you're a Trekkie like me. Okay, let's see if we can get back here. Moving right on. Conversion ROI, the return on investment of doing conversion is becoming questionable. It is so cheap to go out and buy a used EV, an early Leaf. Doing conversions, you got to have a love for getting dirty and digging down in and making brackets and doing all the stuff that's necessary for doing a conversion. So our original mission from 50 years ago, amazingly, is pretty much passé. It's only the diehard that's doing that. So anyways, OEM numbers are growing like crazy. We have lots and lots of offerings. I just want to click over here real quick. The scorecard here for February sales, they're going to be reported soon, but this is January. Take a look at the top numbers here. 1,800 Tesla Model 3s, 800 Model S's they're estimating, I believe, and Model X's. Who is Tesla? I mean, for the old diehards, been around 50 years. Tesla came out of nowhere. They've only been around about 15 years. And it's just awesome. I've got a link at the top here. You can see it next to sales scorecards. Inside EVs is where this is coming from. They run this monthly. It's a pretty useful link. Okay, we got lots of new companies coming up. Lucid is right here in the Bay Area. Byton, who are they? Some Chinese outfit. Great Wall Motor, not Great Wall Motors. They've just, I read in the BBC this morning, they've gotten the go-ahead to build a bunch of electric minis in China. It's basically what AC Propulsion did way back when. And I'm going, hooray. It's good news. So lots of companies are emerging, and others, Mark Geller, who's here in the room with me, he and I took a tour of the Faraday Future labs and facilities in Southern California in October. Well, I think they've since closed their doors. There was a lot of shakeup and a lot of political nonsense going on there. Anyways, they had an interesting product, taking things and stretching them a little further. And now, of course, we have the Nissan Leaf, which we displayed at our Endu event here. Under $30,000 MSRP for the base level model. It's got truly 150 miles of range. This is really good news. So you don't have to be, loaded with cash to build these things, to buy an EV. And of course, the affordable Model 3 is out, and we're seeing them left and right here in Silicon Valley. I followed one home. The guy must have been right from the factory because he had very few miles on him. He was behind me, stopped at a stop sign. I gave him a thumbs around and a thumbs up and looked in the back rear mirror and gave him an okay sign. And he smiled, I could tell, and then he went off home. I know where he lives, though. Anyways, obviously, we've had slow startups with the shipments of the Model 3. I just recently saw the Model 3 invitations going to non-Tesla owners. The priorities were Tesla and SpaceX employees got the first ones from July, August, September shipments. And then previous Tesla owners were invited to configure and get theirs, and there's a lot of them out there. I think we're at about 7,500 or 7,900 Model 3s have been shipped so far. And real interesting things when you read the Tesla Motors Club forums, somebody with a Model 3 came out to his car and couldn't start up. It was just totally gone. And it turns out it was a firmware fix that kept the battery from the 12-volt battery from being charged properly. So he left it for a couple of days and it drained all the way to zero. So that was interesting. It was fixed. And somebody just recently, in the last couple of days, put their Model 3 on a dyno, and it generated 393 point something or other horsepower, which is a little bit more than what Tesla was speccing it at. And this is the non-performance version. We still have a performance version coming, supposedly. So it'll be interesting. It's going to be a zippy car. Haven't sat in one yet or driven it, but in any case, bottom line, there's lots of electric cars becoming available. And I think in the next couple of slides, it'll be pretty apparent. We are seeing a revolution in the automotive industry, and Detroit doesn't know what to make of it. Germany's on defensive. I mean, it's pretty apparent here. This is an interesting link. Let's see if I can go here. Yes, okay. I would encourage you, it's a quick summary of hybrid and electric cars. It's short. Car and Driver has actually gotten on board, and they show the models, pictures, prices. You can see these. The Audi A3 Sportback e-tron is interesting. The Prius, new one from Kia, the Niro. Anyways, let me just kill that. Okay. Moving ahead, slide 2 of 5, year in review. Lots of awareness, and what's really interesting is various countries around the world are saying, okay, no more internal combustion engines. China, Norway, India, UK. It's pretty interesting. A lot of others are just, kind of making motions in that direction, including our own state of California here. Governor Brown is saying, we probably ought to do this. And Assemblyman Phil Ting of San Francisco has produced a bill, I think it's AB 1745, something like that. And he'd like to see internal combustion engines banned from California sale by 2040. There's another group that's trying to move it in the direction of 2030. Okay, we'll see what happens. But this is pretty significant. I mean, 97% of the world's transportation is powered by petroleum, and it's pretty powerful. I mean, you can go up in the wilds of northern Canada, wherever, with a gallon of gas and put it in your chainsaw. It's internal combustion. It's really powerful. You'd have a tough time stretching an extension cord up that far. Anyways, so as a result, we are seeing a whole bunch of people making all sorts of commitments, announcing their pure battery electric targets in the next couple of years. Here's the list. Volvo is owned by Geely, Geely, Chinese company. And we're seeing everybody else making commitments. Even Ford recently said, yeah, by 2025, we're going to have so many models available. So anyways, now here's an interesting statement, my second bullet point here. New entrants with less experience may be more nimble and technology aware. Well, that pretty much sums up Tesla. They are nimble. They're clever. In fact, just recently, a Model 3 was hijacked, taken to Europe, and reverse engineered by, I forget, one of the big German ones, either BMW or Daimler, somebody. And they made some pretty complimentary comments on how clever and how well things were done. Well, yeah, if you don't have the mindset of do it the way we always done it, you can do amazing things. Okay. Tesla is our only pure play to date that's in full production. And depending on how you count, their shipment years, they've been shipping for either 7 years, starting with the Model S's, the signatures, or coming up, okay, by this summer it'll be 7 years, or 10, depending on if you look at the Roadster as a limited production thing. But bottom line is they've delivered 300,000 cars. That's pretty significant. This is not like, the last EV startup in America, which I think was the Sebring people, their city car back in the 1970s. I think they barely shipped 2,500. It's kind of a joke. Anyways. All right. And the last statement here, consumers are demanding more range, more safety, reliability, technology. They want the autonomy. They really want to move ahead. If they buy a car, they just don't want another gas car. It's just like with everything else they've been doing. So there's a paradigm shift going on here. It's pretty obvious. Okay. So this new interest shows up as a new proliferation at the 7th annual NDO. This is the 7th time we've done National Drive Electric Week. It started off as National Plug-in Day. And people were moaning and groaning. I don't want to have it on this day. Let's move it the other day. So we made it a week with 2 bracketed weekends, and that gives us a lot of flexibility. Well, this year we had a little disappointment with all the hurricanes down south. People are saying, this is hurricane season. Can't you do something about this? How about we move it more into October? Well, that's when it starts snowing up in places like Maine and Washington, So anyways, never going to make everybody happy, but it's interesting that we've had a real good reach on that thing. I've got a whole slide on that. Let me click over to this. Okay, here's our couple of pictures from our NDO event in Cupertino. We did have the brand new unveiled 2018 Nissan Leaf there. We also brought one back from the dead. One of the crushed EV1s, or with the non-crushed EV1s, was brought with the help of a lot of local people from Cal Auto Museum up in Sacramento. And I want to thank George Stuckert right here. He's the guy who helped arrange that, financed it, and thank you, George, because it was a blast from the past. And quite frankly, compared to a Tesla, yeah, it was pretty advanced, but still like Tesla better, I think. This is, the EV1 was a 2-seater. That's a problem. Okay, and then we had our blast from the past. We had Dr. Ken Castle come, and he's a San Jose State professor. He does this stuff, gets his period attire on, and goes back, talks like a guy from the early 19th or early 20th century. Kind of interesting to note here that the range of this electric car here was about 50 or 60 or 70 miles with lead acid. Only one trouble. Top speed was only like 15 miles an hour. That's the same range as the EV1, which had a much higher top speed. It was governed at 80, though. So anyways, just a little view of our National Drive Electric Week.
That's 1905 Studebaker Electric.
Thank you. George tells me.
1916 Detroit Electric.
Okay, let me go back. 1905 Studebaker Electric is the bottom picture here that Ken Castle and his buddy are crowding around. On the right-hand side, you can see our own guy from the Silicon Valley chapter. Space Case. What's the guy's name? You see the walking thing on the right-hand side here? Bob Schneeweiss. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Bob Schneeweiss is a model maker up in Stanford, and he's always made these things. Powered by a single electric motor, this thing emulates walking things. I don't know if it's a horse or if it's supposed to be a human. Yeah, once again brought his contraptions. They're great fun watching his stuff. Okay, we have had a huge reach with the National Electric Week. Had 100,000 attendees. Gave lots of test drives. I think that day or during that period of time, we gave about 9,000 test drives to acquaint more and more people with the beauties and the wonders of driving electric, and that's our big push. Trying to get more people butts in seats. Okay, here's the link to the Drive Electric Week website, and we don't have a pin in here yet for the Cupertino event, but there are pins already set. We go there real quickly. You guys see this? Is it working? Okay, there we are. So the highlights are there. We have an events map and ways to get involved. The website is driveelectricweek.org. And lots of cool pictures on here. Okie dokie. All right, Facebook. Want to do a big shout out to a guy who's been helping us on Facebook. It started initially with our effort. Carl Vogel in Long Island got things started, and we had about 1,000 likes, I think, at our peak. And then we turned it over to a SAC EV member, a guy named Matt Chen. And Matt has done wonders. We are, as you see here, our number of likes is really high, 23,000. Our posts are shared widely. But these are the big guys. Our competition on Facebook for electric vehicle topics. Tesla's 2.6 million likes, obviously. Green Car Reports is 360,000 and Inside EVs at 40,000. So we're at 23,000. And then there's a bunch of EA chapters below that. But Matt has done a lion's share when he posts something to the Sacramento chapter website. He also posts to the national. And he's got some health challenges. Let's just kind of keep him in our prayers because it's not looking too good for Matt right now. But anyways, shout out to Matt. Thank you for your ongoing help here. Okay. We're on slide 4 of 5. Year in review, we have some state incentives appearing and reappearing. Georgia, which with the help of Toyota, lost their incentive a couple of years ago. They spent $1.5 million squashing it. Well, with the help of Plug in America, we're bringing it back. And we fully expect by 2018 there will be a incentive, a state incentive for EV buyers. The sales of the Georgia EVs dropped precipitously when that rebate went away. It was truly amazing. It was a nice, generous one. I think it was $5,000. That's pretty nice. New York has just got a brand new one. Well, actually, last year. And lots of other things are happening. You know, the incentives for going electric include, in California, you get an HOV sticker. Well, now we're playing some political games there. AB 554 was signed in October, and the sticker rules really have gone topsy-turvy. Let me go off to another slide here. Check this out. They're trying to do away with all the other ones. If you had your sticker issued anytime earlier, like in 2002, like my old RAV, anytime up to 2017, they're going to expire on the 1st of January next year, and it's over with. Now, if you had your sticker issued during 2017 and 18, you can apply for a new one in 19. You'll get 3 years until the end of the beginning of 2022. And similarly, if your sticker is issued in 2019, that'll be the case. But it looks like because I had one, I'm not going to be able to get it again. It's going to expire, and they're flushing a whole lot of old guys out of there. That's bothersome. Anyways, they also put an income cap on here. Check this out. You're a single filer earning more than $150,000 a year. You're doing well. Thank you very much. No sticker for you, though. Head of household, they up the threshold. Joint filers even higher. So income cap is new, and this is politics. I hate it.
Robert,
yes, sir.
are they going to make the stickers a different color? How are they going to know your white one's no good?
No details. White's probably going to be changed to maybe inverse video. Maybe they have a black one with white lettering. I don't know. No details.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think regarding the income cap, it's not a strict income cap. That when you register your car in California, your EV or your plug-in hybrid, you will have to choose between the HOV sticker and the
Rebate.
the CBRP rebate.
I believe that's right.
Correct on that?
You're absolutely correct. And so if you exceed one of those thresholds,
We want to get it on the microphone so people can hear it. Introducing Mark Williams from the California Rebate Program. You're with CARB.
yes.
Come on up and talk.
Yes. So some clarification on the question. A couple things. One, if you apply for your decal after January 1st of 2019, it's not just for an additional 3 years. It's good for up to 4 years. It's essentially through the 4th January 1st after the year in which you applied for the decal. So that could be up to 4 years or as little as 3 years and 1 day. And as far as the income caps go, Mark Geller is correct. If you make higher than the caps, then you are forced to choose between either the decal or the rebate program. But if you've exceeded the rebate program already, then obviously you get your decal anyway. So there's no situation in which you are not eligible for a decal, since the income caps are the same as they are for the rebate program.
For a new car.
Correct.
For used cars coming from out of state that have never had the sticker before, can they reapply for, or can they apply for the program?
Yes, vehicles that have. Question was about used cars or cars that have never had a decal, and the answer is if a vehicle has not previously been decaled, then yes, it is eligible for a decal.
Thanks, Mark. All right, moving rapidly along. Back to where we were. Okay, it's pretty clear that the charging infrastructure is essential, but I still contend that we're very well set in the U.S. because every habitable house, I've repeated this to many people in the room here, every habitable house in the U.S. needs to have sewer, running water, and electricity. Well, maybe in Amish country you don't need electricity, but there are millions of outlets that will recharge your EV. You will never be stranded unless you're truly out in the middle of the, Black Rock Desert in Nevada or something where there are no houses, okay? But in a pinch, you can always charge at 120. It'll be slower than molasses in January, but that's the way it is, okay? So you can see here there's lots of rollouts. The Tesla program is expanding. Public stations are moving toward higher power. The combined charging solution, the CCS, is pretty much pegged around 50 kilowatts right now. They've changed this standard, and everybody's now scrambling to produce higher power stations. Some of the big players in the market have yet to reveal their latest hardware. But for charging access, you got an EV, how are you going to find out where to plug in? PlugShare is probably the go-to source right now, and they've got a lot of there's a lot of other sources that you can tap for finding where you can charge. But again, every habitable house, or wherever there's an outlet, every commercial building has got electricity. I don't know any buildings that run on candle power, but okay. And then there's always RVs and campgrounds. Charging is not an issue, and there's only 170,000 or so gasoline filling stations in the entire U.S. I think we got them beat already. Okay. And that's my last point. Many drivers still charge at home, even people that have Teslas. They charge their Tesla Model S's with 120 volts. May take them 2-3 days, but hey. Okay, and here's something that's the last bullet under at the bottom here. New OEM EVSE equipment. The manufacturers are now doing dual voltage EVSEs. Remember the early Nissan Leaf wasn't quite so capable. Well, now I guess they do 120 and 240 volts without special modification. So that's good. Okay. Year in review, slide 5 of 5. DC fast chargers is what DCFC stands for. Lots of them being deployed. EVgo has got some money, and they've planted them in unlikely places, like at the top of a mountain locally here. It's kind of a questionable place. I mean, if I'm low on power, I don't think I want to risk getting halfway up the mountain and say, sorry, I'm not making it. Let's see what we have here. This is just a link to an article from Inside EVs on EVgo. They're charging, this is a summary report from a couple of weeks ago. They've charged 40 million miles worth of EVs. Sounds great. Here we are, inside EVs. EVgo fast charges 40 million miles of EV driving in 2017. Nice statistic. Thank you very much. Okay, let me go back. Whoops. Nope, that's right. The Nissan people have promoted a Drive the Arc program, which allows you to drive free of charge, without a fee, I should say, from Monterey all the way up to Tahoe. You can do that. This is something that Tesla pioneered in 2012 with their early superchargers. They put them in Folsom and various other places. And somebody, I think Brad Berman, was able to drive from Lake Tahoe all the way down to Hawthorne on a supercharger in one day, which was an awesome feat in 2012. Well, now Nissan has got the program for the Northern California people. It's free of charge. You walk up to one of those chargers, including the one at the top of the Santa Cruz Mountains, just at the Summit restaurant. There are 2 CCS chargers there. It's free to use. Just drive on up. Okay, Tesla has got a huge network. Let's go to their picture here. This is where it is today. 475 locations in the U.S. Some of them as many as 40 stalls. The Kettleman City stall charger is a huge solar-covered array. They even have a restaurant, or not restaurant, they have a barista inside there full-time during business hours. Pretty amazing. So they cover 47 states, 1,166 locations worldwide. And if I just go to the next slide here, this is what it looked like a year ago. Very similar, actually. A little more density. What's interesting is North Dakota still doesn't have any. So they're in 46 states as of today. But last year, the density has increased. And this is information from supercharge.info, you can see. Whenever there's a construction cone there, it means it's under construction. We have urban chargers now popping up for Tesla. There's one in Cupertino at the Valco Shopping Center, still not online. Sunnyvale Town Center. There's going to be one in Campbell next year. There's going to be one more in San Jose someplace. They're just popping up left and right. So it's great if you have no other facility to charge. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, that's pretty much, whoops, went to the wrong slide. Yeah. Tesla is offering free charging equipment to various people. All you got to do is ask. And they're very generous with this stuff. In driving back from Southern California in the last couple of months, we stopped at I forget what it was, a restaurant, or it was a hotel in Santa Maria. They had opportunity charging there, and it wasn't quite wired yet, but any day now they were going to connect it. I'm sure it's wired up now, but hotels are getting them for free, bed and breakfasts. If you have friends that run a bed and breakfast, tell them to call Tesla and they might be able to green their business. Okay.
You should mention that when Tesla does give a destination, I mean, maybe it's true of workplaces as well, a Tesla charger, which obviously only is compatible with Tesla vehicles. They also, and I assume this hasn't changed, correct me if I'm wrong, give a Clipper Creek charging station, presumably 40 amp charging station that can be used by any electric car.
Interesting.
So as far as I know, that's still the case.
Mark, let me repeat that for people that can't hear you. Mark Geller mentions that when Tesla does deliver a free of charge destination charger, they also ship out a Clipper Creek J1772 40 amp capable standard plug, which of course a Tesla can use, but it's not, that's so that you get to the Best Western or whatever hotel, whatever, and it's only a charger for Tesla. Man, I'm screwed. They don't want that to happen. So they're being very generous in that respect. Thanks for that. Okay. Moving rapidly along. We just went through this picture. Now I'd like the various people that are on our team to stand up in the room here. Jack Brown, standing over here. He's helping us do the webcast here. Thank you. He's on our board. Gint Fideris, he's our treasurer over in the corner here. Mark Geller, he's been with us a long time, and he's with me also on the Plug in America board. Guy Hall, Sacramento EV strategist, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Terry Hirschner's not here. I don't see him. Anyways, Chris Neff is in New Jersey. If you can hear me, Chris, stand up and take a bow. Marina Stith also joined us during this last year. She's our marketing whiz. She's from Scotts Valley. I don't see her here. So anyways, Marina, if you're listening to this, take a bow. Carl Vogel is our long-standing board member from Long Island. And he started the Greater New York Electric Auto Association. And now there's a second chapter in New York, a little upstate in the Hudson Valley that has recently popped up. And there's myself here. And Will Beckett, take a bow. He's been doing our membership stuff for ages. And thanks to him, this is the last year they were going to be in this HP facility here, HPE facility, because they're selling this facility. They're moving to another place in Santa Clara. And he was the one who was instrumental in getting me going here within the company. And we've been using these facilities here. This is 26 years. I think it's about right. Anyways, times are changing and so aren't we. Okay, let's talk about these changes as we charge ahead. I'm on slide number 10. Obviously, conversions have dominated our discussions and our enthusiasm as people did things. We've done a lot of interesting things here in the last 50 years. Now that modern electronics allows us to do more and more compact controllers and efficient ones, I mean, some of the early stuff was a matter of diode switching to switch battery banks, and it was a complicated mess. And if you didn't switch it just right, guess what? Your acceleration pace kind of stopped. Anyways, we've gone to the solid state stuff. Now it's all about drivers. You can go buy a car. You don't have to be an expert. And my sister could drive one. Imagine that. Yeah, she never will. Okay, obviously our constituency is all over the map. We're now becoming a drivers organization, helping other people get involved and convincing them the virtues of not only EVs, but PV too. Solar rooftop and EVs, electric vehicles, is just, they go hand in glove. They're real nicely matched. So what we're planning on now, and Guy, he's busy taking a picture. We're in the formative stages of trying to put together a virtual EV support center. So the Electric Auto Association, in conjunction maybe with Plug in America, nothing finalized yet. We'd like to create a call center so that people can call a telephone number when they're at a charger and they're stymied. This connector doesn't look like it fits, or my card doesn't work, etc. We'd like to be able to help them out with virtually live service where they can get answers in a hurry. The reason we're doing this is because it's something we can offer. We have got, bar none, probably the most expertise in electric vehicles and the technology of any organization around. We are boots on the ground. We've been doing this a long time. We're engineers, we're nerds, and we've been doing this a while, so let's share the knowledge. And basically, we're going to try to get some funding here, get it together, and start a pilot program in the spring of 2018. It'll be in Sacramento. Why there? It's a pretty big hub where they have as many as 300 EV sales a month. And there's a lot of newbies there, a lot of people that, you mean I got to plug this in? They get their car home. I've heard these stories. They're incredulous. So live phone support, online access during business hours, and we are looking for other people that would like to volunteer. Technical experts. First level stuff, I think we got covered, but and there may be some money behind this. It all depends on how our funding goes. And then the thing I have at the bottom down here is just kind of humorous. If you have no vision and you're trying to put action behind something, you just got a nightmare on your hands. But vision without any action is equally bad. It's just a dream. We have a lot of dreamers in the world, so obviously we need both. So we're looking for people to help out. If you're willing to help out, talk to me. Okay. Next slide, Treasurer's Report. Gint, I think this is yours. Come on up. You want to use your slides?
No, I'll use that.
Okay,
I'm just going
cool.
to use this for eyesight.
Okay. Arrow keys here.
Power cord back here.
And we do that. Good enough?
Yeah, I got it.
think. Perfect. Let's teeter this on the edge here. Okay. First of all, we're solvent. We have about $100,000 in the bank. That's what we had about last year as well. However, let me explain some of the detail behind the cloth here. On the income statement, what's actually happening is our membership is declining over time. Our expenses are declining as well, but not as quickly. Okay. For instance, last year, about half of our income was actually spent on the current events magazine. This year, it's like 54%. Even though the publication costs have gone down, so has our income. So as a percentage of our income, the expenses for current events has gone up. This year compared to last, our donations for National Drive Electric Week are down 16%. Also, in the same vein, NDO expenses are down, but they're not down as much as the donations are. Overall, our income is down 27% compared to last year. So it's a substantial decrease in income. But our activity expenditures are down 27% as well. So does that mean we're not doing as much as we were last year? No, it just means we're actually much better at spending the money that we're spending. Okay, so it's not willy-nilly on projects that that don't return any money. Part of this expenditure as well is we've cut the cost of our membership database in half, going from your membership over to Club Express. One of the other advantages of Club Express, I'm just thrilled with this new product, Club Express, because last year I could only reconcile dollars. I couldn't reconcile people. This year I've actually reconciled the entire year, literally donation by donation, membership by name. Okay, so I can say, all right, so-and-so did pay, so-and-so did not pay. And so it matches up exactly what Will has. Okay, now Will and I don't have them in the same buckets, okay, because it doesn't always report the same way. Yeah, membership versus donations might not be the same, or donations versus NDO might not be the same. Keep in mind the amount of money that NDO brings in, let's see, is a substantial amount. It's more like 30% of our total budget. So rather than hiding it in the entire P&L, I broke it out separately. Okay. Same thing goes on with our special funds. There was $3,000 donated by Clipper Creek, and that's being used. It was earmarked as educational funding and scholarships. And so, we set that aside. Initially, I put it in Sacramento's bucket. You don't see it anymore because I put it in the education bucket. Similarly, there's money that we earmarked for for Central Coast chapter, where the money was earmarked actually for a charger to be put somewhere in the Half Moon Bay area. And so now that's no longer in the bucket that's Central Coast, but it's a separate bucket, special funds earmarked for a particular charger in a particular location. Anytime we have restrictions like that, I want to call those out separately and earmark that money and put it away. Last year, there's a few anomalies in our financial statements. For instance, last year we had to pay for 2 years of insurance, and so the cost for that insurance was $6,200. This year, our insurance is only $2,589. That doesn't mean we have half the amount of insurance. It just means that we're not paying for 2 years at a time anymore. We're paying 1 year at a time. Okay. We did add directors and officers insurance in addition to our general liability insurance. So as a total, our costs have gone up, but compared last year to this year, our cost is about half because we're paying for 1 year, not for 2 years. Okay. By the way, if there's any questions, I'm willing to take questions during my presentation. Okay. And then you can save the rest for last if they don't come to mind right off the bat. So even though our current events paper copies have declined 32% from 345 to 260, our printing cost has only dropped 12%, and our overall publishing cost has dropped only 16%. So 27% decline in our income, 17% decline in our expenses. Okay, so there's the difference.
So last year we lost 12,388. This year we lost 19,127. Okay, on an operating basis. Now, all of our taxes are paid. All of our informational filings are done. That works. So now you're going to see this in detail in very tiny numbers, which is why I brought my own.
Line 7, I'm line 7.
Yeah.
Problem with? Concerned about that?
Yeah. Yeah. This is very detailed accounting, as you can see. I got a very sharp pencil. And same thing with the cash flow and balance sheets. Now, let me explain one more thing about the balance sheets. We're at about the same cash balance this year as we were last year. The difference is NDU money is earmarked to that particular chapter. So if Sacramento raises money for their Drive Electric Week and don't spend all the money, that money remains with Sacramento. It doesn't remain with National. If Silicon Valley or San Francisco or any other chapter, and I'm counting the ones on the West Coast, but if any other chapter raises money individually, whether it be through donations or through National Drive Electric Week, that money is earmarked to those locations specifically. So even though as a unit we lost money on operating the EAA, primarily because of publishing the cost of current events, we actually have a higher cash balance this year than we had last year. And that represents the increase in the asset value that's earmarked by chapter. Okay, so that may not be clear when you're just looking at the numbers. You're going, how do they lose money and actually gain, cash position in their bank accounts? Well, that's how.
Sharp pencil.
Sharp pencil, very sharp pencil. And it's the bucket theory. It's a bigger bucket, and there's more buckets. So, but that's where the difference is. And now here's a better representation. The numbers are still small. You can't read them, but I'll read them for you. The largest expense we have is actually for publishing current events, and that's 54% of our total revenues. Okay. The next largest expense is our NDU, which is about 24%. The actual expenses of running the NDU activities are about 24%. The next largest one, I believe, is, hang on one second. No, actually, it's, so activities are 10%. That's in red. And then at the bottom, our green little slice there is membership expenses are 5%. The blue one that's a couple above the green slice, that's insurance for 3%. And our bank charges are 2%. Everything else is 1% or less. So our CPA is 1%, education is 1%, grant expenses are 1%, et cetera. But if you take a look at the numbers of 53, 24, 10, 5, 3, and 2, you're pretty much 97% anyway. Okay, so does that make any sense? I mean, the pie chart makes it a little bit easier to see instead of looking at all the number details. But within those, I can, there's a lot more detail on the other slides if you can get the number small enough. Bigger glasses. That's why I zoom my screen 150%, so I can see the small numbers there. Okay. Any questions on the financial presentation? Okay. Ron, back to you. Thank you. Thanks, Kent.
One question, there's one over here too.
Sure.
We've been asked a lot about revenue share.
Correct.
And I'm guessing that if the numbers are the same as last year, hoping from revenue sharing.
That is correct. Thank you for bringing that up. Ron mentioned that at the beginning, but this is a good point to actually bring it up. In the past, and I'm talking about prior years, 14, 13, 12, it turned out that the more money we spent, the more money it looked like we had. Okay, and so every expenditure that we made actually increased our balances.
Now that doesn't make any sense if you do that at home, your bank would call you up and say you're out of money, you're bouncing checks. But in our case, the way the accounting was done, we were actually writing negative checks and also writing negative deposits. And so the more money we spent, the larger our checkbook got and the smaller our receivables got. Absolutely the opposite of the way accounting works. Okay, so if you think about it from a checkbook standpoint, think about cash. Okay, not accounting, not smoke and mirrors, but just straight checkbooks. And I reconcile everything to cash. I don't, we run accrual accounting so I can keep track of what's due in the future, what we have to pay in the future. If I don't pay it the day that it's actually due, I can keep track of what, how long I've been aging my balances and how long the balances are aging for accounts receivables. But when it comes down to it, if we were operating at a profit, we would have revenue sharing. Since we're losing money on a cash basis, we don't have money to share with others, okay? And part of that reasoning as well is I don't feel good about taking money out of a chapter that's doing well to give it to chapters that aren't doing anything. Okay, so, and that's potentially what's been done in the past. So I just don't feel good about that. But if we're making money, then sure, we'll revenue share. But on an operating basis, we're not. And therefore, we won't have any revenue sharing. Does that answer the question? Okay, and then the question over here.
Last, I don't know, I guess from about October through December, I must have gotten about 50 emails from nonprofit organizations asking for money. We don't do that. Why not? I think we ought to be on with the crew for a little extra $50. What the heck? I'd certainly give it to you.
I think you're absolutely right. There's things like Giving Tuesday. There's stuff. They've made up all these different nonprofit holidays, and I think that's a good idea to pursue. We have the capability now in Club Express to do that. Whether we want to spam our membership or not, that's a different story. Agreed.
I do get spam.
Yeah, some people might think that would be spam because we're asking for money.
We actually do that. Yeah, and we don't do many. I mean, what, we did 3 or 4 blasts last year, and there are about 50 people who turned off that notification. If you really don't like it, you can go and turn it off.
Mhm.
So I have no problem sending.
Yeah. Okay, great. Super, thanks.
One thing just to add to that subject about helping to fund the chapters and such, we have for the last year made an offer that any chapter that brings on a new member to the Electric Auto Association gets, I believe it's $20 out of the $35 membership goes and is dedicated back to the chapter. So if you want to get some chapter funds, sign up some new members, and the majority of their money will come back to you and help fund chapter activities. So that's an important way to build a membership and to build funds.
And I have one thing to add to this question about money at chapters, which is obviously what we're talking about when we're talking about revenue sharing is money from dues that members pay that comes to the national. And then if there is extra, if we have a profit, goes back to the chapters based on their numbers. Okay, and now because of the way the balance sheet works, there is not the money that goes back to the chapter. But let's be clear, there is one way that you can fund your chapter, that you can have cash to do things that you want to do, which is to have a donation made to the chapter. So if you or somebody else, a corporation, a local business, whatever, makes a donation to the chapter as a donation rather than as a membership, that money sits in the chapter to do with as it wishes. That was all I wanted to say.
And the chapters are all nonprofit status.
The chapters are
All chapters are nonprofit. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Guy. Good question. I'm loath to spam people. I spent my life defending against that stuff. We actually spend part of our budget on PObox.com, which is an industrial strength spam filter to keep our incoming stream relatively clean. It's tough to do. Anyways, it does. Anyways, okay. Thanks, Gint, for the explanation. Like you said, we're solvent. We're just, hand to mouth. Okay. Let me talk briefly about our current events magazine. I do this with one other professional assembler. Her name is Dorothy Folia. She used to live down in Aptos, where Jack and Will and many other EVers have moved to, from the Bay Area. I guess it's paradise close to the other side, on the other side of the hill. Anyways, Dorothy has moved to Arizona, and she has actually reduced the amount of money she's charging us to do a monthly magazine, because she doesn't need as much expenses where she is now. So very generous. And we do it together. We've been doing this together 16 years now. It's actually, no, since 11 years. Take it back. Can't even add. Since 06. Okay. Clearly, our electronic version is the most popular, but we have some guys, including one sole remaining party up in Canada, is willing to pay extremely high postage to ship the magazine across to Canada. He wants hard copy so he can read it in his easy chair. I get it. I understand it. But $95? Wow. Especially because the black and white copy, which is the hard copy, is just so lackluster by comparison to going and seeing it online in full color with hot links. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but since last December of 16, every item in the table of contents, you click on the page number or the title, it'll take you right to the article. And then at the end of the article, we have our little logo. You click the logo, it takes you back to the table of contents. So it's hot links all over the place in the magazine. A lot of people put out PDFs and they don't put the hot links in there, especially if it's 151 pages. It's really painful. Then you just got to go up and use your reader and say, go to page 39, whatever. It's much more intensive, but this way the clicking and scrolling is much easier. Okay.
So hey, we had a couple of questions online from the live chat.
Cool.
Charles Durena.
Yeah.
Saying that right? Is it revenue sharing or profit sharing?
Revenue sharing. Thanks for that distinction.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Okay. Charles from Virginia. Hi. I'm glad you're here. It's a good question. You're asking, is it revenue sharing or profit sharing? It is revenue sharing.
Okay. Charles also asked, remind people that a new member has to use a special code when they sign up.
Good point.
Repeat that again.
For the promo.
That's interesting. Charles is asking about remind new members when they sign up, they have to use the promo code. That's exactly my point here. We have a 3 months e-copy free. We have a promotion, and what is it now? EAA 2018 BEV or something like that?
Yeah, it's actually 2017. I haven't updated it yet.
Come on, man. It's well into February.
I know.
Okay, I'm teasing. Charles, good question. If you find somebody who's interested in an EV and wants to kind of test the waters, they can get 3 months of this free electronic copy. And then after that, we'll bombard them with a solicitation request.
Actually, the 3 month free version has no code requirement.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
It's new members only, and they get it for free for 3 months. And what San Diego has been doing is signing up people and then adding them as a free. Because this is all going to be in the membership section.
Yep.
So are we there yet, or?
Oh, yeah, we're very close. Let me finish this and go right to because Will's next. Charles, hold that thought. Okay, free web access, older issues. We got archives going all the way back to 2001. Some of the early ones are pretty rough reading. Sometimes sentences don't finish, but they're there. And they are not hot linked, however. And a real tough project I'm trying to figure out how to do is build an index of all our old issues. I remember seeing an article on a DeLorean conversion. What issue is it? Very tough nut to crack, especially when you have 12 issues and many, many years. So anyways, we are always looking for original materials. You see these bullet items here. That's what we're looking for. If you have a nice story to tell, we welcome it. Sometimes we make them up. Sorry, we don't make up the stories. We sometimes we create our own stories here. remember when Alan Soleil in the room here went around the world in with a bunch of people on the around the world in 80E days, whatever it was called again. Wonderful pictures, lots of pictures. Another example, Will Beckett took a road trip last May, I think it was, in his brand new Bolt EV from the Santa Cruz area over to Arizona and then back through Southern California. One of our longest ever road trip stories. That's the kind of stuff people like reading about, and we get a lot of thumbs up for that kind of stuff. So anyways, we're looking for all sorts of things here. If you have opinions, not politically charged ones like NRA rulings and stuff like that, forget it. Anyways, we're looking for stories, so just send it into our emails, which is in the masthead of the magazine. Will, you're on deck.
Thanks. So, editor at electricauto.org for those who want to send articles in, because that ends up going around, of course. And what were we? Oh, yeah. Remind me of that question again.
The one with the special code?
Yeah. So the 3-month membership used to have a code, doesn't have a code anymore. It does have to be approved by me. We don't want anybody. So I look at them carefully before I approve them. Let's just put it that way. And San Diego has done an excellent job. They signed up a bunch of people at the car deal they had down there in San Jose. I think it was like over 100 people or something like that. Auto show, yeah. And they put all of them on 3-month membership for San Diego chapter. So we have a bunch of those. And in fact, I'm going to give you numbers, but while we're on that subject, there are currently 184 members who are 3-month promo members out of our roughly 1,000 members total. About a third of those, is that right? No, about 25% of those are print version of the current events, and the rest are electronic. And it splits off the promo with the $20 thing that we were talking about, which does have a code on it, which is a 1-year membership. So that's the difference between that and the 3-month. And $20 goes back to the chapter. For those who have never done it before or who want to describe it to somebody who's a new member and tell them about it, it shows up as $55, but then the promo code gives you a $20 discount. And that $20 ends up going to the chapter, and the $15 goes to the EAA for the first year of a new member. There are 44 members who are in that category right now. We had a few new chapters start up, and several of them used that to help get their chapter going, and so they got funds now so that they can work with it. There are just other statistics. Level 1 support. We have 24 of those. Those are people who get a membership at $120 for 120 volts, right? And level 2 is 240, and there are 7 of those. And there is one level 3 at 500. We didn't do 480, but 500 is a nice even number. So what the heck? So anyway, only one of those this year. In addition to our membership, we have pretty much anybody can register. It doesn't give them access to current events, but it gives them access to everything else. And what's really nice about that is when we have meetings like this and non-members show up, if we do a sign-up sheet, they can, get registered on the site and be notified of future meetings. And of course, eventually they might become a member. And that's a good thing. And there are 7,270 of those as of this morning. So there are quite a few followers, as we call them. On the system, they're called non-members. But we don't advertise that part of it. So there you are. Okay, so I covered most of this, right? And the button is, do I just do down arrow? Okay, very good. So yeah, I mean, we talked about this. The heaviest cost is the current events, and the website hosting is reduced significantly from what it was before. It's certainly a better website in all aspects for our ability to be able to manage chapters, especially. If you want to see how it can be used, you should go look at the San Diego chapter. They've done a really wonderful job. They actually have a webmaster who's managing their page for them, and they've hooked in a lot of things. Some who are on the system in an administrative way will see little $5 charges, as Don did. They are actually registering people for an event and dinging them for $5 because they need the revenue to help pay for the event. And that's what this this website offers us, is the ability to be able to do little things like that to help the chapters along. Each chapter could actually have their own membership fee in addition to ours if they wanted to, and we can tack that on for the chapter. So if they select that chapter, they get dinged an extra $5 or $10 or something like that, which could go directly to the chapter. So there are a lot of ways to manage the money in this system that make it really convenient and help support the chapters. That's the big deal. So, and we talked about this, but let me go through the revenue sharing, because the formula, if it's not available to you, it doesn't, it's not going to stick in your brain. But the bottom line is that when we do have revenue, it's based on your membership, and the membership numbers are gathered in February for that purpose. So now's the time to start adding your membership for your chapter, so that next year, when we do have revenue sharing, we can, because we're going to have all those really fabulous donations coming into the website, because of the blast that we're going to do to promote the EAA. Then the percentage of revenue sharing that's going on to that chapter is totally based on the membership and the level of membership. So you can see there's a formula here that determines by member how much money you're going to get back, or what percentage of money you're going to get back. And that's all based on the level of membership that you bought into. There is no senior membership anymore. The board voted that out last year. And I do get a few disgruntled, a few complaints. It's not dramatic, though. I point out to them, hey, the electronic at $35 a year compared to, what was it, $25? Really? You're going to complain about $10 a year? I don't know. Yeah. Well, that's it. The printed copy was a pretty good deal. I think it was $29 or something like that for that one. And that's okay. $60. I mean, when you add up postage and everything else, it's pretty even. The postage especially has been going up dramatically. Okay, so yes.
There was a couple of comments from Charles earlier. It suggests that to reduce cost of newsletter, stop reprinting stuff from the web.
That's a tough one.
I'll let Ron do that one.
Charles makes a comment that to reduce the cost of the newsletter, we should stop reprinting stuff that's elsewhere on the web. That's tough because otherwise we'd have probably maybe a 16-page newsletter. We don't have a whole lot of user-written stuff. Sometimes we generate stuff ourselves, but there's a lot of stuff happening. Conversion articles, it's really hard to get somebody who's done a fantastic conversion to document it. I mean, taking pictures is great. People hate a sea of words, but that's a tough nut to crack because there are so many good alternatives out there, and that may be our end story. It's not an easy one to crack.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Then one other comment he had was, thank you for the improvements to the website. It provides a lot of great reports on membership.
Good, good, good.
You're welcome, Charles.
Thank you. Yes, Ken.
And before you go, one.
I'm not going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One suggestion I would make for the chapters themselves is if they are still paying for a website domain, why bother? You don't need to do that anymore. This website is a whole lot better than what most people are paying for already on their own. And they can use this, just move it over and stop paying for their own.
You can pay for the domain, just forward it over to the page that represents the chapter, because you can build a whole site under that hook that they have in there, and it has many more features. You can do the calendar, and the calendar can then be shared with the EAA's calendar. So when you go to events, it's color coded and it shows the different chapter meetings in addition to the EAA events and things like that. So there are so many features in this thing that we are not using. So okay, so I'm not going to go through this. Okay, so here are the pretty pictures. The yellow dots represent members. I did this morning, just before I went out for my run. You can see the distribution, I used to put chapters on there, but it just muddies it up a little bit. So that's membership in the United States, and where it's clustered, it's pretty obvious where things are. What's that? Yeah, well, actually correlates to California. If you do a close-up on this, there are a lot of dots in the Bay Area. Although we lost one. East Bay chapter is no more. What's that?
Which chapter?
East Bay.
Really?
Yep. Ed Thorpe gave it up. Yeah. He was pretty much it, really. And they are starting to get a little old. There's a lot of conversions over there. Oh, sorry. You notice we have one here in Egypt. Is that cool or what? And we have one in Greece. So last year, I think one year I came up here, we had one in Russia. We don't have the one in Russia anymore. But they get scattered around. Anyway, here's the Northwest, which is a hotbed, especially up in the Seattle area. And they added 1 or 2 chapters last year. And Oregon is going to be adding, I think, another chapter. I think we're going to see one in Ashland. Okay, so Northeast, which spreads out to Missouri, is of course the other corridor for electric vehicles is on the East Coast. And Southeast, Florida's still pretty strong, and of course Houston is really big time. That whole panhandle area is coming alive, including some areas that are heavy in oil. I get a lot of calls there from people who want to change that whole environment and are anxious to do big things. And so I'll just give you one short example. There's a kind of house that's in, I think it was Oklahoma, that they don't have garages or driveways, and the cars always park on the street. So here's the trick. Where do you put the charging station, right? So on the sidewalk or right next to the sidewalk, right? So that you have to put in conduit. You have to go underneath the sidewalk to do it and things like that. And the permitting was restricting them from being able to do this. So this guy was on a campaign to change the rules so that you could put charging stations out in the street in front of your house. And so it's little efforts like that that we're big on. Whatever you need, we'll try and give you some. So he was looking for more and more information about charging stations and people who were mounting these things in street side locations and stuff like that, so that he could take this to their council and change the rules. So yeah, it's great stuff. Was that? Yeah, okay. I think we got him to him. This was about 6 months ago or so. Okay, so Southwest, Phoenix is a hotbed. San Diego, of course, is, and Los Angeles is picking up. Although those chapters are kind of scattered now. We don't have the Santa Barbara chapter anymore, but we do have a North Los Angeles chapter that's pretty strong, and I think they're building a new one down there as well. So, and Central Coast is doing all right. Okay, so there's the Pacific Ocean, Japan, and Hawaii, and Alaska. Needed to show them. So, all right. And by the way, this mapping system I have, you can actually drill down to the street and see the membership number and the email address of that person if I want to. So I can really get specific.
I think you're done, right?
I'm done, right?
Thanks.
I'm just looking at my notes.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah.
He didn't say that he can drill down to the street level. He can actually identify the serial number on your EVSE.
Yeah.
Okay, couple things I want to mention. The help center that I mentioned earlier on the charging ahead slide, that's going to be absolutely free of charge. Keep using that word. It's not going to cost anything for EA members or Plug in America members or certain sponsored people, like certain cities like Sacramento, to avail themselves of those facilities and to help. It's not going to cost anything. So if you're a longtime EA member and maybe you don't know which end of the screwdriver to grab to put in an EVSE, whatever, if you're not techie and you want some help on something, call us. We have answers. Usually they're the correct answers. Okay, I want to do a big chapter recognition shout out. But Will mentioned it a couple times. EVA OSD, the Electric Vehicle Association of San Diego, really has done very, very well. They've got a new leader named Regine Fellows, and she's just sparked all sorts of interest in their people. Again, Will mentioned that during the San Diego Auto Show in January, they came up with 100 new signups, and Will had to swallow that and enter them in manually and all that kind of stuff. But a big shout out to them for some of the promotional efforts they're doing. Here's a picture on this slide. We're on slide 27 of David Crow. I guess he's the vice president of the chapter. He's wearing a bib that they made, and it has a bunch of literature in there. And he's wearing it around his waist. And as he wanders the floor of the San Diego Auto Show, he's saying, "Hey," I don't know what he's saying exactly, what his words are. "Hey, you, come here." But he collars these people, and he has the information ready. And this is a real nice effort. We saw the bill come through to reimburse from their chapter treasury, reimburse somebody who had these bibs made, and they have our logo on it. It's really a clever approach to having ready information. Said, "Come on over here to the booth." Weave way through thousands of people, and hey, where'd he go? He's gone. Oh man, whatever. If you've ever been at a big trade show, it gets to be real chaotic. But a big shout out for them. They've done really, really well in soliciting members. They have new people coming to their meetings, interesting topics. I've gotten a couple of slides from them. They also have a local newsletter, I believe, that they put out. But a big shout out to the wonderful effort they're doing. We've got many big chapters all around on the East Coast, along the West Coast here in the South. Forget about Wyoming. We don't have a chapter there yet. But some of our other chapters, they meet irregularly. And as long as they do it twice a year, I think they're legit. But the big shout out to these big active guys. And obviously, there's lots of activity in San Diego. Okay, moving rapidly along. We are basically ready to wrap this up here. I'll take some more questions from online if anybody else is listening. Or the room.
Got a couple of questions. Charles, again, on here, Will, can you share any discussions about boosting membership, especially in light of growing number of EV owners who may have lower awareness of PAA versus conversion?
Yeah, let me repeat the question. Charles is from Virginia is asking if we have any techniques or suggestions for boosting membership. And I'm a nerd, I'll admit it. Marketing is not my strength. We have other people on the board here that are in that vein, and they can better address this. And one of them would be Will. Thank you, Will.
So really the most effective, I mean, San Diego did that, in a big way, but the most effective is to, number one, have an event. At the very least, let people into the car to sit in it. And if you can give a test ride, that's wonderful. If you can give test drives, that's even better. But of course, we prefer the dealers do that for liability reasons. And have a sign-up sheet when you do it. Make sure you get name, email address, city, and any other information you can glean. I mean, it's really nice to be able to add that, but in order to register them on the site and give them that 3-month free membership, you need at least that. City's not required, but I sure like to see it. And of course, we have to tag to that the chapter that did it. So it's important to be able to select a chapter as well. Use the website. There's a free email option. You can go to the non-member section if you're an admin for the site, and you can blast out a message to all those people who've been attending your meeting and are still not members and remind them about the membership. So you can build your chapters that way by taking the people you've signed up and just hit them once a year or twice a year or something like that. Don't want to hit them every month or anything. So.
Well, I have a follow-up question.
That's okay. I'll repeat it.
Have any EAA chapters or the EAA thought about working with dealer associations to provide a 3-month membership as a point of sale?
Yeah. Have anybody been working with local dealerships to help them? And yes, in many ways, San Diego especially, and if you go to their website, you'll see it. They have a certification program using Plug-in America to help certify the dealerships. And they have a list of approved dealers for the EAA in San Diego who meet these conditions. Not only that, we can actually probably in the future, should I talk about it? As much as I know, we can offer a kit to a dealership that'll help them promote EVs. We will teach them about EVs so that they are more knowledgeable. That's what this whole certification thing is so they really understand more about EVs than most of the dealerships do. And in that way, yeah, early on, we tried to get them to sign up people as members. We tried to give free memberships out. They won't do it. If we go in this way, I think they're more likely to say EAA supplied us with this information. So.
Mark, good question. I think in general, we can say that the dealers are hesitant about being directed. You can ask them to buy something and they won't. You can give it to them and they're still very hands-off. We've learned a lot about the dealerships through one of our members and advocates, Tom Malogny. He's in New Jersey. He's worked heavily with the dealers back there. And I think he's actually got a TED talk about that kind of stuff. Okay, questions around here. Alan.
Ron, I have to say that I disagree with you about the charging. A significant percentage of people live in rental units, and they have absolutely no incentive, and they have a disincentive to install chargers where they live. In Sonoma County, it's 35% of the vehicles are owned by people who live in rentals.
Wow.
So it's a big deal as far as them. You can't use the concept of having a full charge every morning you leave your house if they don't have a charger at home. The workplace charging isn't bad, but it doesn't work on the weekend. So I think everything that we can do as an organization to encourage whatever government agency or private agency to install charging in rental units would go a long way to encouraging people to get a unit.
Thanks, Ellen. That's a real good point. And mea culpa, you're right. There is electricity in every house, but not for you can't stretch an extension cord out the window. Rental units is a bugaboo. You're exactly right. And we're
And
trying to wrap
condos.
our heads around that. Condos, same thing. Will's got a couple of suggestions here.
Yeah, yeah. So it tends to be a city by city thing too, and county. And in fact, in Santa Cruz, I know for a fact that there's a program specifically designed to encourage this. And of course, the state has rules too. But what can happen is that the local planning department can build incentives into multifamily housing units where a certain number of charging stations are required for every new building that's put in. On top of that, PG&E has a program with grants where they will come in and charge a minimum of 10 stations in. And that program, of course, is another incentive to move along. It is the lagger. I remember, when they asked me to be the IT guy for legal department, legal was the last one to become technology savvy back in the old days. And unfortunately, the last ones to get pulled into this and to have people recognize there's an issue are renters and people who live in condos. And I know that when my mother's condo was being built, we specifically put in the charging station before we put in the conduit for a plug before they finished the ceiling off that goes directly to her meter for her parking space. Now people are looking at that who live in the same building and they're saying they got to spend a lot more money to do the same thing. But at least it was done already. And because it was done already, people recognize it and they're asking for it. And the condo now has made an agreement where this can be done for everybody.
I made an appeal. We have a choice aggregator up in Sonoma County. And I made an appeal to them because they have EV.
We can hear you better.
Yeah.
Come on up, Alan. I don't know if you guys can hear him faintly, but he'll talk louder now. Thank you.
I made it an appeal to our community choice aggregator up in Sonoma County, and they're very reluctant to bring the power to the charging stations. They have a program now to give you the charging stations. In fact, give you a couple of $250 to help you install it as well. But they're reluctant because of the unknown involved with the cost of running the power there. So and their suggestion is to do exactly what Will suggested, is to get a local ordinance, building ordinance, to incentivize it. But that's a very tough political football. It's very tough. In addition, not only the cost, but giving up parking spaces in an apartment or multi-unit dwelling is a big issue as well. So I'm looking for anything, any kind of answers at all.
And have you talked to PG&E?
I haven't talked to PG&E.
Yeah, you should.
Well, actually, indirectly I did, but
because they have a lot of money based on that
Okay.
nasty situation that happened.
Yeah, okay, I'll give that a
The
shot.
Cal Green Code.
What's that?
The Cal Green Code.
Go ahead, Jack.
So at least in California, I know we're a national organization, actually, I saw earlier international, but at least in California and other states are looking at following similar path. All new commercial parking is required to have at least 6% of the spaces pre-wired or at least conduit to the main panel and panel capacity and enough power to run 6% of the spaces that are being planned out in the garage. In addition, they have what's called tier 1 and tier 2 that allows the city to say, well, we want not 6%, but we want 10%. So they can make that standard for all. Apartments have a different part of the code, and they have some requirements for any new apartments being constructed on having charging infrastructure at least in place. They don't need to have the charger, but they have to have at least the wiring and the panel capacity for any new apartments. They're also getting ready to update that code and make it more aggressive. So
That's on new stuff. That's the problem. Yeah, new stuff is okay. the existing.
Yeah. Now, hopefully, over time, we get the new apartments and the new parking lots, create pressure, market pressure on the old stuff to be retrofitted, but that's slow. Yeah. So it's all the existing facilities and such are going to be much slower to convert over. And so anything we can do to try to show market need or value will be, so it becomes incumbent on us to help make the pitch to the owners of the facilities. There you go.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks, Alan, for the question. Good questions. Next question. Hi.
I have a question about what does our organization offer people who have EVs? In my neighborhood, there were about 26 EVs. Now there's about 54. Most of these people are families, and they bought the EVs based on getting the kids around. So they don't care that much about range. But next, do we offer them anything?
We offer discounts. Yeah. The question is, what does the EAA offer members for being members? Most of her a neighborhood which is increasing in EV strength. The people are just worried about shuttling their the children around the daily tasks using EVs, and they're not worried about range. So the question basically is, what does the EA offer? What value do we offer? First off, education. This support center that we were trying to roll out here, free for all members, it will be a step in the right direction. If you have questions, come ask us. We offer the magazine, and we offer discounts at certain EVSE vendors. For example, Clipper Creek. We have an arrangement with them where we can get a discount if you mention our name when you order through Clipper Creek. And not everybody wants a special level 2 240 volt EVSE because they live in an apartment. They don't have a place to plug in. Ongoing problem. To Alan's point earlier, let me go back to that real quick. The biggest problem is we've got a lot of existing structures. Without a major remodel, it's doubtful you get something retrofitted. You're going to have a very open-minded landlord who maybe has some spare cash laying around. But new construction makes a lot of sense. But old buildings, some of the apartments I've seen around here are 1950s, 1960s. Wow, they're not even really to code. Anyways, so value add, have I addressed that? Thank you. Other questions? George.
Yeah, I've got a question about membership again, okay? And has anyone ever thought about printing out the membership form and then leaving it on an EV on the windshield and let them know that, hey, we're in the valley here or wherever we are?
Yeah.
I've done that at shows. We've had a show in San Jose at Fieldview. And I printed out several copies of membership form. And as people would come to the booth, I would talk to them and they would take a membership form. And whether they joined, I don't know. But, this is kind of an idea. I mean, there are a lot of electric cars parked out there. I mean, even at the shows that we do.
Yeah.
You go out there in the parking lot, there's dozens of electric cars. And maybe these people are not members.
Yeah.
Or don't even know that we have a club, group here that they could join.
So the question has to do with leaving membership forms on EVs that you see parked in the wild. I usually leave my card on the windshield, which has my contact information and the Electric Auto Association and the website, because I prefer them rather than filling out a membership form to log onto the site and register there because they get their information entered correctly. If you use the paper form, it's prone to mistakes. So I almost prefer saying, build yourself a card, a 3x5 that basically has the website on it, become a member of the EAA, here are the benefits, and put that on their windshield.
And then write by hand, come join us on the back of the card.
Exactly, sign it. Yeah.
We said the Golden Gate Electric Vehicle Association did exactly that. We printed out cards. I was looking to see if I had one with me. I have a card, which is basically a two-sided card.
Yeah.
It mentions the Golden Gate Electric Vehicle Association. Says thank you for driving a plug-in car.
There you go.
With a place to go to on the web.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to carry around. We printed hundreds and hundreds of these.
Yeah.
We just give them numbers.
There you go.
Stick it in the windshield. Cars they have any information about how many.
So Mark Geller's saying that
I know
the
that people
Golden
show
Gate
up at our
chapter
meetings we've never seen before.
has done this and uses a card that says, thank you for driving an electric car.
Just a quick idea to bounce off of George's.
Yes.
The idea is a QR code
Yes,
with a link to the website.
yes.
Stuck on popular EVSE.
It's easy enough to add to the card. Yeah, absolutely. QR code.
A sticker to stick onto the EVSE.
Oh,
That's a good idea.
oh, yeah. Hmm. We can print a bunch of ones to go to the EAA site. Very cool.
That is a good.
I like that.
Great idea.
Let's do
Do
that.
that back in the day.
Yeah.
Old charging stations.
Yes, exactly.
We got some stickers from 10 or 15 years ago.
Oh, I didn't say it. Repeat it. QR code.
The
QR
suggestion
code.
from Don, the suggestion from Don Christensen is to put a QR code on this card, but better yet, how about a sticker for EVSEs that you find in the wild? Mark and I are responsible for plastering stickers on charging units way back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, but that's a good idea. Maybe we'll do that as a project and then just, give them out to chapters. Good idea, Don.
Do some of our special fun.
See, these are marketing things. I know nothing.
Well, there's a
Question.
Yeah, we got a question from online. Robert from Houston, any movement on a chapter presidency?
That's a real good suggestion. Thank you for bringing that up, Robert. Any movement on a chapter president's meeting? We used to have all chapters meetings, and they didn't last very long. It was difficult logistically. We can do it virtually, though. I've talked with Regine Fellows of San Diego about this. It's something we can organize where we can have leadership meetings where the officers get together and learn best practices from others, especially on some of these marketing things. Yeah, it's a great idea, and it's something we're looking into. Always something to look forward to in 2018. Question? Come on up. Sure. Yeah, it's best if we hear you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cecilia, and I come from Cañada College with my classmates here. It's very nice to be here. It's the first time that we are in your meeting, and we've learned a lot from you. Unfortunately, none of us are actually owners of electric vehicles yet, but we're all very interested, and we're organizing the Cañada Earth Day event at our campus on April 19th, Thursday. And we are here actually to get to know more about you as an organization and more about you as car owners, the electric car owners, because we were thinking of the idea of having a couple of electric vehicles at our event so that other students can also look at the cars, learn more about sustainability of electric vehicles, and etc. And actually, our campus is only like 10 miles away from here in Redwood City. The name of the school is Cañada College. It's a very small community college, but however, we are one of the very few community colleges that have full solar panels on our campus. So I feel like we are very pro sustainability, and we want to make this event very great. So if any of you would be interested in talking more to us, we're going to hang out for a little bit. And we also have some flyers here that I'm going to pass around. And again, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Sure. Claire. Thank you. Cañada College is, they know me. I went up there a couple of years ago and did a STEM presentation. You can find it on your video archives. My whole life story. I'm certainly volunteer to come up and show cars. I have a couple of cars we can bring up. I just need more drivers. Mark, you might be interested too. Whatever. Okay. Further questions? Not online. Okay. Any further questions in the room here? Wonderful suggestions. Don Gillis. He's our oldest EV driver in the room here. He's not old age-wise. He started driving in 1981.
So I just want to say we should really partner with the other outreach groups like that. I mean, the event we do in San Jose is that way, right? You get the advertising of another organization, and you become a participant in that, and that brings in a whole bunch of additional folks.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we should definitely make that.
Thank you. Okay. John is suggesting that we should partner with other organizations to leverage their outreach efforts, and it's a real good idea. Thank you. Like I said, I'm a nerd. I don't do marketing real well. Okay, other questions? I think we're nearly at the end. Okay, thank you for attending, everybody. I think we're done. We can wrap this up. Thank you.
Coffee and
Okay, that concludes our live feed from the EAA National Annual Members Meeting. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up on this video so we get sort of a representation of what people liked. And also, if you can hit the subscribe button, if we have more live streams coming up in the future, you will get information about it, or you can check out the saved version. This version will be up on our channel shortly after the meeting. Thank you for attending, and if you have any questions, please get a hold of us through the website. Thanks, and bye-bye.